Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, trying to get caught up with everything. This is my card for last week's Color Throwdown Challenge. As of filming this, Color Challenge is still going on, but we always have a new one every single week. So for this card, I wanted to use the Sketched Flowers stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. This was part of a card kit months and months ago. I've already done a couple videos on it. Funny thing is with this specific stamp set, I've never actually colored the flowers individually. The previous videos I did, I used like the alcohol lift technique. Another one I did some dye ink blending. So with the Stamptember release, I guess there was a lot of requests for a coordinating die set for this. So now there's coordinating dies. So I thought this time I would color the flowers individually and then I can die cut them and all that. So I am using my MISTI stamping tool and I am stamping the large floral image as well as the individual flowers and leaf images onto some Ranger watercolor paper. This is the 8.5x11. It's the same as the cut down stuff. I keep a pack on hand of the full size for things like this, like the large stamps and whatnot. So I used my anti-static powder tool, brushed off the excess, stamped the images with Simon's clear embossing ink. And then I'm using, this is Ink on 3's Strawberry Champagne embossing powder. I've had it sitting here. It's really pretty. I don't think I've used it on anything that I'm aware of. And with the color challenge, there's kind of like a salmon pink sort of color. And I was like, ooh, this embossing powder is perfect. It really is. It's kind of like, this is what I consider very much like, almost like a rose gold. It's just that light pinky shimmery color. It's really pretty. So I heat embossed everything with that embossing powder. And then I'm using my Karin Brushmarker Pros that I showed in, I did a video using them and then I showed them like in a haul video. And here, just to start off with, I'm showing things in real time. I'm trying to be more aware of that and just show snippets of what it looks like in real time. I am not as fast as my videos make it look. I'm not as good as my videos make it look. Editing is a wonderful thing. I try to include that whenever I can, like to show the actual oops and, you know, me dumping things and wrecking things and mixing things up and all that stuff. Cause yeah, I know sometimes in videos I get, you know, a lot of comments about that. Like, I wish I could color as fast as you. And, you know, I wish everything turned out as perfect as yours did. And, you know, it just is what it is. But because of the magic of editing, a lot of times I can cut out a lot of those things. I can cut out a lot of the swearing and when I'm frustrated and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I showed, you know, the real time of coloring. And now this is 4 times faster. So I do not color this quickly at all. But with these, very simple. They're very similar in the sense of the coloring method to how I do any other sort of like a brush marker style, like watercolor marker type thing, is I just scribble on the color and then pull it out with a water brush. That's what works best for me. That's what I'm most comfortable with. They're nice. They're very nice. The only question I haven't been able to answer so far yet with these is how light fast are they? I'm not even sure. I don't worry about that sort of thing too much because I'm a card maker, but if you are more into fine arts or things that are going to be on display, it's something you can look into. But there are like sealants and things that you can use to preserve, because a lot of the stuff that we use, even like, you know, alcohol markers, those are not light fast either. So there are different ways to kind of protect your artwork, even cards and stuff, different sprays and whatnot that you can look into. But anyway, so far I'm happy with these. I kept this coloring very simple because I wanted to go along with that color challenge. So I did a couple of like kind of pinky orange colors for the pink. And then I mixed 2 sort of orangey yellow colors to get more of that mustard yellow color. And then for the blues, I started with sapphire blue and I did all the leaves with that. That's another reason I sound like a broken record, but if you don't watch all my videos, another reason why I love the color throwdown challenges, because it makes me kind of think sometimes outside the box and do things like blue leaves, you know, because that's not normally what I would reach for. I did add a little bit of green, just a little bit of this, it's called olive black, to the one type of leaf and then these kind of berry type images, just to give it that little bit of extra green, but not quite. It's still like similar to like almost a navy blue. And then once everything's dry, I'm going to use these coordinating wafer dies to die cut all of these images. So I'm just going to tape them into place with some washi tape. And then once I've got all these dies taped down, I will die cut them with my die cut machine. And I'll have to run it through twice with this leaf because there was enough space there on that cardstock that I stamped and heat embossed the leaves twice just to have another little leaf cluster. So I'm going to tape all these into place so they don't move when I die cut them. And then after that, I am going to dry emboss a stencil. And I honestly am not 100% sure if I've ever shown how to do this. It's not something I think of, but yeah. Since getting the Platinum 6 die cut machine from Spellbinders, everything's included with it. So it's really easy. I don't even have to think. I was literally researching, like, how do you do this? Because it's been so long and yada yada. It's all laid out there right on the platform itself. So literally, platform, the stencil, the cardstock I want to emboss on, so that laid that. Then the rubber embossing mat that comes with the machine. I added another piece of cardstock just to shim, just to give it a little more pressure. And then the purple embossing plate also comes with a machine. That's it. And then you run it through. Yeah. You can look on the recommended sandwich for your die cut machine if you don't have this one. Most machines have a sandwich recommendation for how to just emboss with wafer dies, etc. It's the same thing. The only thing you usually need to do with a stencil is sometimes add an extra piece or two of cardstock just to thicken it up a little bit so that you actually get a good impression. So I used Simon's Deco Weave stencil that was released with a Stamptember release. Embossed that onto the white cardstock so I just have that nice texture. And then I wanted to add splatter, of course. So I am using two different little palettes here. I have my Gansai Tombi Starry Colors, the one with all the golds, like my go-to favorite. I don't even put that one away. And then above that is the Gansai Tombi Pearl Colors. I don't use this one as often, but the colors are so pretty. When they dry after you've used them, a lot the pigment settle, like the shimmer pigment settles in the pan, so they all look much darker than they actually are because that's more of like the actual just color kind of sitting on top. So I sprayed the two colors I wanted to use with water, let that sit for a little bit, and then I'm mixing it up really well with my brush. And then I'm mixing them together just on an acrylic block to get more of that. I wanted to kind of get a very similar color to that champagne, that strawberry champagne embossing powder. So that kind of pinky gold, rose gold sort of look. So that's why I mixed the two colors together and then splattered them liberally over that embossed background with just a paintbrush using my SPLATBOX to keep it, somewhat contained. And I also added manually added kind of large blobs of it just so I had larger blobs of, metallic splatter. So let that completely dry. And now I've got, my embossed background with the splatter. So now all I need to do is start adding some sentiments. So I pulled out the Greetings Mix 1 stamp set from the previous release that I just kind of keep handy because I love using it all the time. So I decided to use this large thank you sentiment from it. And I'm going to heat emboss this onto some navy cardstock with that same strawberry champagne embossing powder. So lined it up in my MISTI, used my anti-static powder tool, brushed away the excess. Stamp the stamp with the clear embossing ink, and then I'm going to coat it with that strawberry champagne embossing powder. Love how this looks. I had a hard time, on camera, I think it looks, in the video, yeah, you can see, with the navy. In some of my pictures, it almost looks black, the cardstock, but it's just so pretty. I really like this color combo, too. Navy and kind of that salmon pink and mustard. Really, really pretty. So after I did that sentiment, I also decided to heat emboss the sentiment for the inside of the card as well. And that's where I was going to add these little individual flowers that I had stamped and colored and die cut. So I laid those out first just to kind of give me an idea of where I was going to put everything. Lined up that sentiment and then did the same thing. Anti-static powder tool, brush off the excess, stamp the sentiment with the clear embossing ink. Coat it with the strawberry champagne embossing powder. And again, on white, it just looks gorgeous. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I had extras of this. So I've got my big container full of it because I think I'm going to start reaching for this more often. So melted that with my heat tool. And then once that is melted, I can start assembling my card. So I'm going to adhere those individual flowers and leaves. I'm just going to use some craft tacky glue and glue these right to the inside of the card. And then once those are adhered, I'm going to adhere my dry embossed stenciled background that's covered in the splatter. So I'm going to adhere that to my card base, and my card base is heavyweight, the same cardstock I use to emboss on. It's Simon's heavyweight 120 pound white cardstock. So I adhered that with the Craft Tacky glue. I also adhered the flower cluster. I didn't trim off any of the excess. When I put this in an envelope, I probably will, or I'll put it in a larger envelope. It just depends. With ones like this, it just kind of depends on my mood. I like leaving it on for the pictures, but a lot of times I'll trim it off before I stick it in the envelope, or like I said, stick it in a larger envelope, whatever works. So adhered that, and then the sentiment I adhered with Simon's Big Mama foam tape. Put that on the back, peeled off the backing, and then popped that into place. And then as a final little bit of embellishment, I was totally like in my zone creating this card and forgot that the fourth color wasn't white, it was actually cream. We're not like big sticklers with the color throwdown challenge, but you know, I try to stick as close to it as possible, just to kind of expand the horizons. So to bring in that bit of cream, I actually am using some Studio Katia vintage shimmer pearls that just have that, you know, like kind of cream color to them. So pretty. So pretty. So I added a few extras while I was at it. And once I was done, that finished off the card. So as always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll link to the color throwdown challenge. I'll have a supply list with links to all the supplies I used. I took another picture to try and show more of that texture. Hopefully it comes through in the video so you guys can see it. And I'll also post all these pictures on my blog so you can check that out. It'll be linked below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye!